About Sean Mannion. Brandon, what's up, man?
How's it going, guys? I think I'm team flight, though, if we're going to get into that conversation.
Yeah, like, Brandon, if you're going from Philadelphia down to Clearwater, Tampa area, Florida, it's a 2-hour flight. I got Hugh over here talking about driving 13 hours.
No, but I'm saying if it's $45, I'd rather drive. I'd take that.
The gas will be more than $45.
Yeah, but I don't feel like giving them $45.
Okay. Yeah, I spend more than that at the gas station filling up on junk food, but I'm definitely team flight. If I can fly, it's for me. I'm taking the flight.
I'm with you. Brandon, thank you for hopping on with us, and excited to pick your brain here about the Eagles' new offensive coordinator. So I know he was only with the Packers for a brief time, but tell us what you know, what you thought of the job that Sean Mannion did as the quarterback coach in Green Bay.
Well, I could tell you right now, wholeheartedly, I think most Packer fans, people in Wisconsin, would agree with this. We hated to see him leave Green Bay. We thought there was going to be an opportunity for him to take over the offensive coordinator position. Adam Stenavich currently is the offensive coordinator, but he's been interviewing. At least he had one interview with Tennessee. But Sean Mannion is a fan favorite here in Wisconsin and Green Bay. And it's funny because he's only been here, as you mentioned, for only 2 years. And I don't know if you guys have dove into the story, maybe you have, of how Sean Mannion actually got into Green Bay and how Matt LaFleur got him onto his coaching staff. It's kind of a unique story, and it kind of, I think, speaks to probably what Nick Sirianni, heard in those interviews that he had. I know he had a couple of interviews with him up there in Philly. But long story short, Sean Mannion was going to interview for an offensive assistant job in Chicago. Mm-hmm. He knows Matt LaFleur. He's played under Matt LaFleur. He gave him a call and said, hey, I just want to go over a few things, see, some tips, some pointers on what, how I can ace this interview down there in Chicago. And Matt was so blown away. Matt said, when you're done in Chicago, I have a job waiting for you. And he had just obviously gotten out of his playing days as a backup quarterback. So he called Matt LaFleur for advice and found himself in Green Bay. And I don't think it's a coincidence, guys. And I know the numbers, if you look at the raw numbers from Jordan Love, and you're going to look at him and you're going to see, just over 3,000, passing yards and 23 touchdowns. But this was Jordan Love's best year under Sean Mannion. It was Mannion's first full year as his quarterback coach. Highest completion percentage, 66%. Best passer rating, lowest interceptions. And that's all with missing a handful of games Jordan Love had to injury. So when we saw that Sean Mannion, when I first saw that he was interviewing for Philly, I go, oh man, I hope it doesn't. Maybe it's just the first stepping stone for him. Jeff Hafley last year, the Packers' former defensive coordinator, took an interview with New York, but didn't take the job. So you're hoping he was just trying to get his foot in the door there. But he's a very bright guy, man. Very, very jealous that he's now leaving Green Bay and heading up over to you guys in Philly.
I'm kind of curious because this is where I stand with it. I wonder what kind of coaching style is he. Could you give me a guesstimation of what type of coach you think he'll be?
He's very articulate. He is easily, and I've only talked to him a handful of times. I obviously am not in the room with him from a coaching perspective, but watching him from the sideline, seeing how he communicates with his guys, and this former player, like he's able to gravitate towards them in a way that other coaches may or may not have, certainly in the short amount of time that he has. But he's very articulate. He can communicate with his guys really, really clearly. Anything that Jordan Love may have had, or even Malik Willis, guys, because I think that's also another conversation. And I know Sean Mannion's not going to Philly to coach quarterbacks, or at least, maybe he'll have a part in it, but Malik Willis is going to get paid this offseason by some team. And Sean Mannion is at least, I know Matt LaFleur is as well, but Sean Mannion is responsible for the growth of Malik Willis. He completed over 85% of his passes this season and came in for Jordan Love, and Sean Mannion is a big part of that. So he's able to relate to the players. He can grab a room. Guys listen. You see it during practice. You see it during on the sideline during games up there in Green Bay. Like, he is really able to kind of to be able to level onto their playing surface and really understand the things obviously they're going through, because he's played the position, he's been there. There's not a situation he hasn't been in. So I think that's a beneficial thing. If I'm an Eagles fan, the one thing I would, I guess, be cautious, maybe curious, maybe a little worried, is he's never called plays as the coordinator in the NFL. Now, his rise, like I mentioned, from Chicago, the interview up into Green Bay, he was an offensive assistant. They elevated him to the quarterback coach this year. It was his only season at that level, and he wasn't going to call plays in Green Bay. So we don't know what that's like. When in the preseason, Adam Stenavich, the Packers' current offensive coordinator, he calls the plays in the preseason. So we don't know. If I'm an Eagles fan, that's where I would be, okay, how is this going to relate, coming from an offensive assistant to a quarterback coach all within 2 years? which is absolutely crazy. But I'm going to tell you right now, you guys, I do believe, I think it's going to matter, depend on the success that you guys have with him in Philly. And I think when you have Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley and you have the talent that you guys have, I think he's going to flourish there in Philly. Do not be surprised if it's kind of like a Jeff Hafley situation in Green Bay, where he's only there for 2 or 3 years and he's a head coach, because I think that's how fast he's gonna grow in the NFL.
So, Brandon, I have a question for you, because we've been kind of benching this around this morning. So it's not far-fetched for me to think that in one season, with the talent that we have, this could be a top 10 or, dare I say, a top 5 offense under the coach?
I mean, I think, and maybe, I'm not playing to your audience whatsoever. I'm a Packer fan, just so everybody out there knows. But I think if you could get me in there, I might be able to get us. Might be able to get you guys into a top 10, top 5. I mean, that's a very talented group of players. I mean, Jalen Hurts is a Super Bowl MVP, and I know there's issues. Maybe there's issues with A.J. Brown and his future. I mean, Devontae Smith is a heck of a player. Saquon Barkley is Saquon Barkley. Probably should have been the MVP a year ago. I think Sean's going to step into that role, and I think he's going to. The thing about with Jordan Love that Sean did with Jordan Love is he played to Jordan Love's strengths. Now, obviously, he didn't call the plays. He wasn't facilitating the offense. Matt LaFleur calls the plays in Green Bay. But he knew, Sean Mannion, knew what the strengths of Jordan Love was, and he expounded on that, and he made it a point to drive that home to Jordan every single week, every single practice, every single game. And I have no doubt about it that he's going to go up in Philly and he's going to be looking at your offense and he go, okay, we have Saquon Barkley, we have a good offensive line, we have Jalen Hurts, potentially A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. I think we need to go into the strengths of our offense and kind of utilize what he did in Green Bay with Jordan Love and translate that into the offense of the Philadelphia Eagles. It would not surprise me, you guys, and if you have one of the best offenses in the NFL this year, and like I said before, it would not surprise me if this is potentially 1 or 2 years for Sean Mannion at the offensive coordinator position, because of how great and people have just raved about him. Matt LaFleur loves that dude. I mean, the offense loves that dude. Jordan Love loves that. Anywhere he has gone, and I know it hasn't been a ton of places coaching-wise, playing-wise he did, but coaching-wise, every single player in Green Bay has had nothing but positive things to say about Sean Mannion. So I have no doubt about it. To answer your question, your expectations should be very high with your offense, with the talent you have and the coaching capabilities you have now with Sean Mannion.
Brandon, we're playing a game of connect the dots here, right? So, with Sean Mannion was with Matt LaFleur, and he was with all these other coaches through his playing career, like a Kevin O'Connell or a Sean McVay, that all are derivatives basically from a similar system. So we're kind of placing Mannion and thinking he's going to come in here with those kind of ideas. So, Brandon, I want you to think back when LaFleur got to Green Bay, and Aaron Rodgers had to adapt to that system. And then, obviously, the drafting of Jordan Love and him learning that system. What kind of learning curve time did it take? I get your point. Hugh's been making it all day with me that the Eagles have the talent to make this work. But I anticipate there's probably going to be some growing pains in August, maybe even September during the regular season as they learn something. Because the Eagles, for the past 5 years, have basically run an RPO,
Sure.
a ride and decide kind of offense. This is going to be different for them. What kind of growing period did those other quarterbacks have with LaFleur's offense as he installed it?
So it was an eye-opening experience with Aaron Rodgers. If you remember, LaFleur came in for Mike McCarthy, who was dismissed, I believe, early December of that 2018 season, that bad Packers year, and Matt LaFleur came in early January. And I think at the time, LaFleur was actually younger than Aaron Rodgers. So it was always a weird dynamic between those two. But it took Aaron. Now, they went 13-3 that first year with Matt LaFleur in that offense. And the offense was, at times, a bit clunky, but you could see the potential really early on. Now, it obviously helps when you have would have been a 4-time MVP in Aaron Rodgers, but it did take about a year. I would say not even a full year to answer your question. It probably took about halfway through that year, and then you could start seeing that Packers offense really start to hit on all cylinders. And you saw not only was it the offense hitting, were they scoring and getting and moving the chains throughout the course of that season, but then Aaron Rodgers, as that year went on, and into the next 2 years. Keep in mind, after that first year in the LaFleur system, Aaron Rodgers went on to win 2 MVPs in back-to-back seasons in this system. And it's obviously, I'm going to assume the influence that Mannion had, it's going to be a Kyle Shanahan, Mike Shanahan type offense, which is obviously what Matt LaFleur runs here in Green Bay. But I know fans in Philly, and I know fans in general don't always have the best patience, but I would say by November, you guys, it's not a very complicated offense. The Eagles have all the pieces that they need to utilize this offense. Jordan Love was born into this. He was drafted into the LaFleur era, so he grabbed a hold of the concept pretty quickly. Jalen Hurts is a guy who's been around, right? Alabama, Oklahoma, and then obviously drafted in Philly, so he's been around in different systems. I would not be surprised by the middle of the season, because that's kind of when we saw it here in Green Bay that first year under Matt LaFleur, where guys are starting to go, okay, now I see why we're doing this. I see why we're doing that. Aaron Rodgers hated motion, and that first year, him and LaFleur sort of bumped heads. Not really necessarily bumped heads, but just didn't see eye to eye on the pre-snap movement. And once Aaron bought into that, that just unlocked everything. I don't think Jalen's going to have an issue, opening his eyes to new things if that's the case with Sean Mannion. So for us in Green Bay, it took about halfway through the year, but I'm telling you, the Packers that first year, guys, went to the NFC Championship game in that LaFleur system. That was their first year in that system. So after about halfway through the year, they worked through a little bit of the clunkiness, and it was smooth sailing. And then they went to another NFC Championship game in 2020, and Aaron Rodgers won a couple of MVPs. Devontae Adams had career years. He got paid and moved on. Obviously, Jordan Love adapted pretty well to the system. When people, it's funny looking back, people looking at that Jordan Love draft, and they're like, I don't know if this dude's ever going to be a quarterback in the NFL. And then here we are. He's signing a $55 million deal. Before he got hurt this season, he was third in the odds in the MVP race this season in that system. I don't know about you guys, and again, I'm not playing to the audience. I think Jalen Hurts has all the capabilities that Jordan Love has, and I think Jalen Hurts is going to flourish under Sean Mannion.